Good morning and welcome back to Community Chat. My name is Joe Atkinson. I'm the Communications Director for Evansville Mayor Stephanie Terry.
And I'm Taylor Maris, the Special Projects Coordinator for the Evansville Police Department.
And with us today is the Executive Director of the Evansville Water Sewer Utility. I think like 70% of this program is just me saying titles at this point. But the Executive Director of the Evansville Water Sewer Utility, Vic Kelson. Vic, thank you for being here today.
Good morning. It's good to be back.
And you have been in a fair amount of news recently. This month, we kind of made the official announcement that the city, which we had talked about, had been exploring the possibility of bringing groundwater into the city's water supply. Now is a go. That's the plan, correct?
We're moving ahead with the design of a groundwater plant and a well field to supplement the water from the river. Yes.
Okay. Can you start off, just kind of tell us the genesis of this, how this came about, and we've gotten a lot of questions about it, and I'm going to get into those as we go through this next little bit. But just again, as a starting point, tell us where this came from.
Well, it actually goes way back. Our water treatment plant is actually two treatment plants. We have the north plant and the south plant, and the north half of the plant was actually constructed well over 100 years ago. So it's been in need of replacement. The south plant was built in the 1970s and is both plants are functioning just fine. It's just that eventually you need to replace infrastructure and improve things.
Well, when the new plant is, 50, 55 years old? That's,
the new plant is 50 years old.
Yeah.
The plan had been made quite a while ago to simply replace both the north and the south plant with a new plant. That turned out to be far more expensive than anyone anticipated, largely because of just all the inflation that we've had in the construction industry, and just the materials it's a very complicated project.
Right.
So the utility, right about the time that I came here, which was February of 2024, began looking at a so-called hybrid approach that would eliminate the north plant and renovate the south plant to improve it to be able to handle the whole capacity for the sedimentation portion of the process. But then the plant would be expanded to 50 million gallons per day by building basically a new north plant that was right next to the south plant.
And how many gallons per day does EWSU go through? Is that 50 million gallon? Are we using all of that, or does that give a little bit of room for growth?
A lot of room. In fact, we average around 22, and then we peak around 32 in the summer. And as we were going through that process and talking with our regulators, they had suggested we might want to look for 40 instead of 50. The challenge, though, is when you're building a surface water plant, there's so much infrastructure, it's so complicated that it's actually more cost-effective if you think you're ultimately going to need 50, it's probably more cost-effective to build the 50 than to build the 40 and then add 10. Yeah. So we were thinking in terms of 50 million gallons per day of surface water capacity. Now, early in the process of looking at a long-term plan for what to do with our water plant, there had been some groundwater investigations down on the floodplain south and east of where our water treatment plant is now, and they were looking for 50 million gallons per day of groundwater, which they weren't able to find that kind of capacity over there. So they set it aside and continued to think about the surface water plant.
And just to be clear, when you say surface water plant, you're talking about water from the Ohio River?
Water from the river,
Got
yes.
it. Okay.
Yeah. Groundwater plant would take water from wells.
Right.
Yeah. So that was the plan, and we were working on this hybrid plan of replacing the north plant and renovating the south plant. And at some point in those discussions, of course, I was kind of new here, and I was working with our planning director, Sean Wright, quite a bit on all of this. And I had gone back and looked at the studies that have been done about groundwater, because I'm a groundwater nerd by training.
I love that every time Vic's on here, he says something like, "I'm a groundwater nerd. I just love water. I'm a water expert."
I insulted him as soon as we came in here.
Did you?
Yes.
Did you?
I offered him a bottle of water.
Yeah.
Oh, Taylor.
I know. Sorry,
Taylor.
I know.
Those are in the fridge over there, right? Like I can grab one. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I'm terrible about that. Anyhow, Sean and I and others, we started talking about those groundwater studies, and it occurred to us that we might want to look at the possibility of renovating the south plant and supplementing the water from the south plant with groundwater, and to see how that might work out. Now, the reason we started asking this question wasn't the context of building the plant. It was actually something else that had happened, and that is the federal government, through the Safe Drinking Water Act, is requiring us to treat for a group of chemicals called PFAS, per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. That's what that stands for.
Most listeners probably know those as like the forever chemicals that they've been talking about, right?
That's
okay.
right. Forever chemicals. A couple of them are pretty strong carcinogens, and they're actually regulated at the concentration of 4 parts per trillion, which is astonishingly small concentration. These chemicals are basically everywhere, and we find them in the water from the river. And the way it's regulated is you would do 4 samples a year, 1 every quarter, and then the annual average has to be below 4.
Okay.
The concern that we have is that when you have a regulatory scheme like that, you only need 1/6 to really mess yourself up for a year if you've got numbers in the 3s, and we'd been seeing some numbers in the 3s. So we were concerned, and our regulators also were concerned, that we were going to have a plan for how we would treat this. Treating PFAS is terribly expensive too. So we were looking
when you say terribly expensive, can you give me like I mean, I think the number, if I remember right, that I've heard you throw around is like $2 million a year. Is that?
Well, that was the estimate for the that I've been given for the activated carbon that you might use in the treatment media.
But that doesn't count the infrastructure. That's just the actual.
Yeah, you have to build a plant,
right?
And the plant is, in round numbers, $100 million. So that would be, we would finish building our new water treatment plant that would cost maybe close to $250 million, and then we'd have to come back with another rate case in a couple of years to add another $100 million for PFAS treatment facilities,
Gotcha.
and then pay additional treatment costs. So the question really that started this whole discussion was, I wonder how much PFAS is in the groundwater. And it turned out there's an irrigation well in the plaza right near our office, and we were able to get permission from the to pump that well for 24 hours and sample it. And when we sampled it, there are 39 PFAS species that they test for. 38 of them were non-detect, and one of them was just barely above the detection limit, and it was one of the ones that isn't regulated. So that looked pretty promising. But we needed to know, what kind of aquifer materials we have, and the utility owns property at 5 East Riverside Drive. We went over there and built an 18-inch test well and pumped it for 3 days at 800 gallons a minute. We found very low concentrations of metals. We found non-detect for all 39 PFAS species, and we found a very productive aquifer system with a lot of gravel in it, which is consistent with similar floodplain settings along the Ohio River. And if you look, cities like Louisville has been supplementing their surface water plant, which is a beautiful plant, but they've been supplementing that plant with groundwater for years and years. This is a very common thing for people along the river to do.
Right. So we're kind of breaking new ground for Evansville, but we're not breaking new ground for other cities.
We're certainly not the first ones to
Right.
look into this.
Right.
So what we did was we rethought it. One of the nice things about groundwater development is that if you've got 40 MGD of capacity, million gallons per day, if you've got 40 million gallons per day of capacity, and you decide, well, we've got a bunch of new development that's happened and we need another 2 million gallons per day, you can just drill another well or two and add a couple more pressure filters to the plant, and then you're good. So that question about build 50 million now because you don't want to have to build another 10 later, that pretty much goes away. You can add modularly to groundwater plants much more easily. So the idea that we started exploring was to renovate the south plant and get it certified for 24 million gallons per day, and then add another 16 million gallons of 15 to 16 million gallons of groundwater capacity to try to get to a total of 40. 40 is 8 million gallons more than our peak day. So it's 25% higher than our peak day of 32. So plenty of headroom there if we can do it that way. For most of the year, 16 million, we'd only need 6 million gallons of river water. So since our hydrologic studies are showing that the water quality in the groundwater in terms of the PFAS and other regulated chemicals is lower than what's in the river, we'll probably want to run mostly groundwater and make up with surface water, and then when we have higher demand, we'll pump more surface water. But we'll have the option of choosing how to blend them. So there's lots of advantages. First of all, of course, the PFAS, it means we don't have to build a PFAS treatment plant, which is a huge capital expense and a huge operational expense. It does some other things for us. Groundwater is the same temperature all year long, so we wouldn't have as much variation in the water temperature. That can have a positive impact on our pipes because as they get hot and cold, they expand, and that can lead to additional main breaks. So there may be some benefit owing to main breaks. Other things like disinfection byproducts and other contaminants we won't have to deal with as much. The groundwater is harder than the river water, but our intention will be for the treatment plant to have a softening process, because what we want to do is treat both the surface water and the groundwater to be as close to one another in terms of composition as possible.
I'm picturing like a chemical experiment. How do you decide how much groundwater versus surface water? Is that like testing you have to do, or how do you decide that?
You would we would treat the groundwater and the surface water to be as similar to one another as possible, and then we could blend at any ratio that we wanted to.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it may be something that we have
So
to
an
account for.
easier process than probably what it sounds
And
like.
and it may also have some adjustments to chemical feeds when you change rates. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for the background, Vic. We're going to talk a little bit about the savings that are going to come from this. And, I went to United Neighborhoods of Evansville last week and have been out and gotten several questions about this plan. And many of them I can't answer. I can kind of speak to the big picture, but I want to ask you some of the harder questions that I had to kind of shrug my shoulders at and go, I'll ask Vic. So when we get back, we will get into that here on Community Chat. So please stick around.